Terraria is a game with hundreds of weapons, and in this series, we will be choosing just one. Obviously, this isn't possible in vanilla Terraria, so we will be using a mod. This mod will be Signature Equipment. This allows us to increase the power of our weapon by dealing damage to enemies. We will also have some quality of life mods, all of which will be in the description of this video. Without further ado, let's get straight into the video. This is our wheel of weapons. All of these weapons can be attained pre-boss. The Vilethorn. This weapon can be attained from the demon altars in the corruption. Just like any normal Terraria YouTuber, we spawn in and then cut down a tree before we realize that we're not allowed to have a weapon, so we throw away our copper short sword. We then create a new house for our NPCs and realize that we need gel for houses. The way we got our first gel was because the kite killed the slime. We then ran right as far as we could until we found the corruption, which is going to be our most useful biome, so long as we have bombs, which we don't yet. And then we managed to run into the corruption's underground and die immediately. And then I ran left, hoping to find some useful caves, but there was just another corruption, which is useful, I guess, and it was much closer than the other one. So this is going to be the corruption that I'd be bombing. Just like the other one, though, I got brutally massacred by an Eater of Worlds, once again being forced to return home against my will. We traveled down a massive crevice before running into a blue slime and a golden chest. The blue slime got caught into the water and didn't follow us for some reason, and we got a cloud on the bottle, one of the most useful accessories early game. We saw a green fairy in the cave, and we followed it, so it could lead us to its treasure. And when we followed it, we got our first life crystal. Going down deeper into the cave, we found another life crystal, putting us to a total of 140 health. We continued mining for a while before we heard a worm, and we had to recall home because we have no means of defending ourselves. Since we got a few bombs, it was time to break open some shadow orbs. Bursting the first one gives us a musket, and the second one gave us a shadow orb light pet, which is going to be our light pet for probably the rest of the game. Our third one gave us a band of star power, along with summoning the Eater of Worlds, which we promptly recalled home from. I didn't know the Eater of Worlds could fly. We then immediately went back into the corruption to get another band of star power, and we recalled home because we ran out of bombs. Our next goal was to get more bombs, but first we found a golden chest which contained a flare gun, the most useless thing in this playthrough. We also found a life crystal right next to it, so that wasn't that bad. We then found a glowing mushroom biome, which had 2 life crystals in it, but it also had a MILF in it, which we desperately wanted to be crushed by, so we decided to get out of our little pit and be swallowed whole by the MILF. We went back into the underground corruption because we got more bombs from our voyage, and blew up another shadow orb. And this one gave us a ball of hurt, another useless weapon. Finally, however, we got our Vilethorn on our 6th one, which also spawned the Eater of Worlds, which we did not want to fight with no armor. We then traveled right in search of the jungle, which we promptly found right outside the corruption. Upon finding the jungle, we decided to dig down as far as we could go until we found a cave, because we would require stingers. We collected a few chests, which had some decent loot in it, but nothing that we particularly needed. Before we got deep enough to get jungle spores, which would be very useful for our next armor set, we then got chased around by 2 bees, which was very difficult to deal with since we had no mana remaining, and we ended up dying to them due to this fact. Upon returning to the jungle, I found a chest, and didn't realize it was trapped and died again. After the success of our 3rd voyage, we traveled back to find that there was a Goblin invasion, which we did not have any armor to deal with. But gladly the Vilethorn has infinite pierce, which makes invasions pretty easy. Still during the invasion, I was crafting my armor because I cleared out some space before an Eye of Cthulhu spawned during the invasion, which I highly doubted I was going to beat. This proved true when I died to the goblins during the fight. It took a while, but eventually we managed to defeat all of the goblins, and we collected our bearings. At this point, due to the signature equipment mod, our Vilethorn was level 10, meaning it was dealing 10 more damage than normal, but it was also suffering from some strange consequences with the spacing. This issue would never become anything significant now, would it? Of course not. We then made more houses for our NPCs. That same night, in spite of not having Hermes boots, I decided to fight the Eye of Cthulhu. We managed to complete its first phase without ever getting hit, but the second phase is where things would start to get difficult. We managed to complete it with only getting hit 2 times. It was at this point when I realized our weapon was really strong, and I was going to fight the Eye of Cthulhu multiple times in order to get better loot. I was mostly looking for a better reforge on my Eye of Cthulhu dash, which I again didn't get. I then went to the Corruption so I can fight the Eater of Worlds, which I made an arena for. I then went to the altar and crafted a cellar. Once I arrived at the surface, I summoned him immediately, as I was pretty sure this was going to be a very hard fight due to the piercing of the Vilethorn. And I was really not mistaken. As expected, it didn't take very long to defeat the Eater of Worlds, and I then opened my treasure bag to get a Wormsmurf. Right after the fight, I made a Deathbringer pickaxe and went close enough to hell that I considered my elevator finished for the time being until I got more bombs. Once I got back to the surface, I saw a meteorite had fallen and collected it, so I could make better armor. But before I went to do that, I remembered that there was a boss for the dungeon, the Bony Boy Skeletron. But it was fairly close today, so I went home to do some much needed tasks. One of which was search for Sky Islands in order to get a lucky horseshoe or fledgling wings, and maybe a shiny red balloon for that matter. We found a first Sky Island which contained a celestial magnet. For once, isn't the worst item in all of the sky chests. Our second one had a lucky horseshoe. Our third one had a shiny red balloon and a pair of fledgling wings. Our fourth one had another shiny red balloon. Our final Sky Island had a Star Fury, which was useless to us. So we went home. Our next thing that we needed to do was defeat Skeletron. We arrived at 7:04, and we summoned him soon after, when it reached 7:30. I'm not very good at this boss fight, and I got hit right away, so I wasn't too confident, but our weapon was very strong, so... We managed to defeat both of his slappers, but the next part was the most difficult in my opinion, is when he shot flying skulls, and those were very difficult to dodge for me. Our lack of skill was evident as we ended up dying soon after to his flying skulls. I decided we were in need of movement improvements, so I found the Goblin Tinkerer pretty much immediately after going underground, purchased Tinkerer's Workshop and some rocket boots. We crafted a mana regeneration band, a pair of Spectre boots, mana cuffs, Blizzard in a bottle, along with horseshoe and bloom. We went back to the dungeon and summoned Skeleton Prime a second time, this time with newfound accessories, so that we would be able to dodge better. We easily disintegrated both of his hands, and we defeated him with relative ease this time, not even getting below half health. We went into the dungeon in search for a cobalt shield, which we found immediately. Which was good because we got forcibly sent home soon after. At this point, our Vilethorn was incredibly strong. At level 21, it was dealing 45 damage. Soon after, we went down to the elevator to finish it with bombs. We went to the leftmost side of the world, drunk our buffs, and summoned the boss. For some reason, not even waiting to heal, which ended up costing me severely. I also got caught immediately inside of the flesh, which dealt tons of damage to me, and I had to run away. Even though my weapon was phenomenal against this, it did not solve a lack of skill, and I ended up dying. I went back to hell to make a hell bridge, because I was not very familiar with using water walking potions, before summoning the wall of flesh a second time. Hopefully this time would go better. As you can tell, I was very calm about this, and no issues arise. But there was a slime raid, which means that we finally get to take our anger out on a very simple and easy boss, the Slime King. This, as expected, was very difficult, and I almost got hit multiple times. I know, it's just such a scary boss. Probably shouldn't even got hit once, but you know. You can't help skill. I built the guy a nice little abode in the underworld before I threw him into lava, because I'm a very kind person, and I needed to fight the wall of flesh to rid him of his worries. At the end of the fight, I was at pretty low health, but he was also pretty low, and this required some immense skill, and I died as he died, which is fine, I guess. I went back and collected the loot, which was most notably just the pawn hammer and the demon heart. I stuck around hell so I can farm some easy souls of night in order to summon the destroyer later on, and also the skeleton time. I got 21 Souls of Night and 3 Souls of Light, mostly because I wanted to fight the Destroyer, because this weapon was going to be very strong against it. One thing that I had forgotten, though, is that you need a Mithril Anvil to actually craft the summons. I was under the impression that you could craft them just at a normal anvil, which is wrong. So I had to go actually make the ore grind. The world was blessed with palladium, mithril, and titanium. I won't bore you with all the mining, so I just made a pickaxe of palladium, then I mined some mithril, and went back to base to make a pickaxe of that before going on a titanium grind. A grueling 30-minute titanium grind, which honestly was a lot shorter than I remember it being. We craft up our summons, and we go over to our arena to fight the One Night cards. We summon him in, and we see that he's on our right. We travel to his spawn location as fast as possible to deal as much damage as we can in the short amount of time when he is clumped up. Whilst I was distracted with big numbers, I was contact hit by the head and died soon after to the lasers. After spawning back in, I crafted another and tried to spawn him, but I forgot to heal, so I was dead after just a few seconds. I'd also obliterated all of my NPCs, so I didn't have much to do whilst waiting for night to fall a second time. So I was determined to fight the Queen Slime, the supposedly easiest boss, post Hardmode. Her first phase was incredibly easy. I only got hit like 3 times. But her second phase was a little different from that, and I died very shortly after the second phase began. Once night fell, we spawned the destroyer once more, where I put a spot in the sky for him to spawn, and tried to destroy him as quickly as possible. I managed to win against our first and easiest mechanical boss. The other two would be a little bit more difficult due to them not having loading segments. Though before that we made another destroyer summon and decimated him so we can craft hollow gear. We wanted hollow gear due to its insane set bonus. The following night we summoned the twins, which personally I find to be the hardest boss fight in Terraria. After not that long, we got spasmodium to second phase. And this is going to be where the difficulty ramped up in the fight. He could not sustain the difficulty jump, and died promptly. I did think the fight went pretty well, so I made another summon, and fought them on the same night. We quickly got spasmodium to second phase, this time with much more health remaining. It didn't take long after that for spasmodium to perish, leaving Retinizer sad and alone, and hopefully traumatized. We then tore the lens off of Retinizer, leaving a laser behind it, which we would then destroy that as well. It was a close fight, with me only being left with 2 hearts by the end of it, but we managed to lead victorious. The final remaining boss was Skeletron Prime, the actual hardest fight in Terraria. We needed bones to craft the summon, so we went to the dungeon to go collect some. We collected 60 before we don't talk about it. Once it turned night, we crafted the summon and summoned Skeletron Prime. Before dying in like 20 seconds. So obviously our strategy was just to summon him again, immediately after, with no more preparations, and not even crafting wings. Which, who could have guessed? I did the exact same thing. So I went back to the dungeon, so I can get more bones, so I can fight him again. We collected 60 before being backshot by a poison dart. Again, we decided that wings were for amateurs and decided to fight him without any preparations, and died. Again, who could have guessed? We then set up a nurse box and teleported to it so we could heal mid-fight. And then the skeleton despawned because we went too far away. As usual, we wasted more time and effort by crafting another summon and dying. We fought him again, and we died again. Who could have possibly guessed? We went back to the dungeon to collect more bones so we can craft more summoners. But this time, we actually decided to do something smart. We decided to go kill some ice golems so we can get an ice feather, so that we can finally craft wings. We summoned him in one final time, finally prepared with wings. This boss fight is honestly pretty trivial when you have wings, and I managed to beat him easily on the first try, with wings of course. As such, we finally defeated the 3 mechs, which lead us to the jungle, so we can defeat that juicy Plantera. But before all that, there was a boss we need to revenge on, the Queen Slime. They made fun of us earlier, but now it is time for us to destroy it, which we did very easily, almost never even taking damage. Once we found the bulb, we made a massive arena, and we only died a few times in the process. Oh wait, that's the whole death montage. I only died twice in this process? That's crazy. During her first phase, it's the easy part. You just circle around her. Everybody does. It's very easy. But her second phase, you have to pretty much stay as far away from her as possible.
My weapon gladly improved in range significantly since its start, but I still had to be relatively close to actually land hits consistently. Though we did beat it pretty easily due to the fact that our arena is absolutely gigantic, and the size of the arena equals the difficulty of the fight. Since Plantera was defeated, the dungeon grew stronger, and there was new weapons and equipment there, including the much-needed black belt and tabby, which took over an hour to attain. But since it was taking so long, I decided to go into the temple instead to fight Goblin, which is obviously the easiest fight in the game, so I wasn't very worried. Obviously in first phase without lasers, he's very easy. The only thing to watch out for is the fireballs, which are pretty much random, so a little hard to dodge at times. But once the lasers click in, it starts to get a little more interesting. Emphasis on a little. We managed to pop the head off with only getting hit a few times, and we healed back all the hits that we did take, pretty much immediately with their effect wrong. Eventually we defeated it, and we collected our spoils. Our next goal would be Duke Fishron, so we went to the underground mushroom biome and collected some truffle worms. We went to the ocean and fished up Duke Fishron so that we could slaughter him brutally. We made it to his second phase at full health, so I wasn't very worried. We then made it through the second phase without even getting hit a single time, but then Duke Fishron decided that he remembered how to teleport, and I have never even fought this part before, and died brutally because of it. So we went back to the ocean and fought him again. The same two things happened, with a very easy first and second phase, and then we ended up dying in the third phase once more. We then went back a third time to go fight him once more. This time, no real problems arose during the first and second phase as usual. We got hit like once or twice, which is different from the others, but nothing too difficult. But the third phase is a different beast, and we got completely decimated almost instantly. But this time, rather than throwing my head against a brick wall, I decided to fight the lunatic cultist, which was going to be a very easy fight since we didn't have a really high damaging weapon, and the lunatic cultist is just in general very easy. And so we took the lunatic cultist out, and our lunar pillars are fading. With the newfound confidence of defeating the lunatic cultist, we fought the Duke Fishron again, in order to get the mount. This time, though, he never even went to third phase. We'd somehow managed to kill him during the animation. Now onto the pillars. We first started with the solar pillar, because I honestly find it to be the easiest pillar. With its defeat, my mind goes numb. And I go over to the worst pillar of all of them, the Nebula pillar. Absolute disgrace of human creation. Before finally, after 3 deaths, we managed to defeat the pillar. I am overwhelmed with pain. Gladly, the next pillar was the easiest to choose, the Stardust pillar, where I just used the Stardust cell cheese, which is just incredibly easy, and we then beat the pillar with not very many problems at all. I pretty much did the same thing with the Vortex pillar. I just set it a bit and shot upwards. This is the ultimate cheese for this pillar, and easily defeated it right after getting out. But we did die after, before the Minior spawned. As impending doom approached, I collected our Vortex fragments and prepared for the fight. Once it spawned in, we stayed on our Fishron mount and move it as far right as possible so we can still hit the eyeball. but we failed to dodge all the projectiles and ended up dying on our first fight. So we spawned him in a second time using a Celestial Sigil. And I died again due to my lack of skill in dodging. Like they always say, third time's the charm. So I spawned him in a third time. I really wish this one would be the last one because I didn't want to have to use all of my Celestial Sigils. We still had one remaining, but we died and we'd have to use that last one. So we spawned him in a fourth time. Because fourth time's the charm. Hoping that this would be the last time I'd have to summon him, because if not, I would have to fight the pillars all over again. But we did end up dying, which I discerned was because my mount was unusual amount for me to use. So I would fight the Pumpkin Moon to get my usual amount. We summoned it that night because there was not really very much time to waste, and we didn't need to farm that much. It's a pretty common drop, I think. So there really wasn't that much to say about this event, and by the end of it we found our very useful broom, which is going to be our mount for the Moonlord fight. In order to fight the Moonlord again, we'd need to fight all of the pillars, the cultist, and then the Moonlord would spawn. So that's what we did. Impending doom approaches. I was very hopeful about this fight now that we had a really good mount, and I targeted the right eye first so that I could get the immunity frames. After not long, the right eye was taken out, and I decided that I was going to sit inside of it so that we would not be able to take damage from any other source. It only dealt 1 damage at a time to us, so we weren't in any danger. Eventually, the heart was open, and then we would start attacking that without any real danger on my behalf. And without very much struggle at all, the Moonlord was defeated, and we finally beat the challenge after 11 hours and 30 minutes. We beat the game with a Vilethorn. I mean, it's an overpowered Vilethorn, but still, don't undermine my accomplishments, chat. We did it. If you enjoyed this video, please would you mind leaving a like and maybe even subscribing. This is the first video on this channel, and you can leave any constructive criticism you want in the comments. I'll take it with a open mind. Thank you, and have a good day.